Hello, today we're going to talk about the digestive system. Go ahead and write down your digestive system questions. Digestive system. This system breaks down food into molecules the body can use. Then those molecules are absorbed by the blood and carried through the body. So this piece of fruit is going to be taken all the way from the mouth into the stomach, into the small and large intestine. And part of that will be used to nourish us. Let's go over some definitions. Pardon me. Digestion is the process by which your body breaks down food. So it's kind of two parts. There's going to be a digestion part and absorption part. Absorption, you'll see in a little bit, is the process by which nutrients pass through the wall of your digestive system into the blood. So digestion breaks down the food, absorption gets the nutrients to help us. So let's go back up to digestion, and you can see there are two different kinds of digestion: mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. Mechanical digestion is where you have something physical that helps break down body parts, or not body parts, but break down food. For example, the easiest choice of what's mechanical digestion is the teeth. I mean, the teeth chew things up. The teeth and the saliva even helps moisten things up, so that way when the food is in the mouth, before it starts heading down the esophagus, it's not going to look like this fruit is. It's going to be all chopped up and then swallowed after that. But chemical digestion is the chemical changes, the actual chemical breaking down of stuff. And you can imagine up here in the mouth, you're going to have more mechanical digestion. And down here in the stomach, you'll have more chemical digestion. But you do have a little bit of both in either place. So, we've already mentioned what absorption is, the process by which nutrients pass through the wall of your digestive system into the blood. Both mechanical and chemical digestion begin in the mouth. Mention that saliva, right here, helps in both mechanical and chemical, right off the bat. First of all, saliva moistens food, making it easier for it to tear and get into smaller pieces. But what it also does on the chemical digestion side is it breaks down molecules even in the mouth. Saliva has enzymes in it, and enzymes speed up the chemical reactions. So saliva is helping both digestion and, well, I guess you'd say it's helping both mechanical digestion and chemical digestion even in the mouth. And enzymes are part of the saliva that help in chemical digestion. Let me look back at my notes. Okay, so now we're going to take it down past the mouth. As you swallow, your epiglottis, and here's how epiglottis looks. Your epiglottis seals off your windpipe. Now keep in mind, as you swallow, there are two pipes down here. One is the pipe that we're going to be talking about going to the stomach. The other is the windpipe, which is going to the lungs. And it's not highlighted here, but if you look close enough, you can see this pipe right next to it going down to the lungs. So your epiglottis seals off that part. So you have a harder time getting things down in your lungs than you do getting things down in your stomach. But before it goes to the stomach, it goes through the long pipe called the esophagus. The esophagus goes all the way from mouth down to the stomach. Now, the esophagus is lined with mucus. Yes, mucus is the stuff that comes out whenever we sneeze. It's sometimes called phlegm, but it's essential to digestion because the esophagus is lined with all that mucus, and that helps keep from having tears. Pardon me. It's from having tears in the esophagus, and it helps make the food go down a little bit easier. And you may notice this is a pretty small tube here, and there's another process which kind of helps get food down there. Mucus is the thick, slippery substance that moves food along easier. Food is in the esophagus for about 10 seconds, so it's not like it's a free fall. It's not like you place something on your tongue, swallow it, and doom, it drops. It's not like that, because this is a small pipe here. There's a little process it goes through, and here it is. It's a process called peristalsis. Peristalsis is involuntary waves of muscles. Now what's going to happen is you have some kind of food that you will get into your esophagus, and it's not going to choke you or anything, but the muscles of the esophagus work together to push that food down. And it's not going to take that long, but about 10 seconds is how long it takes for all the muscles to push it down. Now you don't feel it. It's something that is involuntary, and it looks a little bit like this. Here's peristalsis. You have this thin tube, which is the esophagus, and sure enough, the muscles are going to kind of contract right in the right places to push the food down toward the stomach, and that's what peristalsis is. And peristalsis is going to happen more than just in the esophagus. You're going to have that farther down as well. Okay, let's talk about the stomach. We all know about the stomach. It is a J-shaped muscular pouch. Of course, it's in the abdomen. You still get some mechanical and chemical digestion down here, more chemical than mechanical, but you do have muscles contracting in your stomach. Muscles contract in your stomach to churn your food. Now, it's not going to be quite as effective as taking a stick and churning it like old-fashioned people used to churn butter, but it's going to be, the muscles do move around, and that kind of gets it's not where it's like a flat surface of food down here, and this does help in the process of softening it up and loosening up, and that allows the chemical digestion to kind of help a little bit. And these two things have to do with chemical digestion in the stomach. In the stomach, you have something called pepsin. Pepsin breaks food into amino acids. This allows for part of the chemical changes of food. Pepsin breaks down foods into amino acids, so goes from being a cheeseburger to just a protein. Just kind of a crazy example here. Hydrochloric acid is a really strong acid. Hydrochloric acid, if just poured onto your skin, would burn into your skin. But you actually have that in your stomach, and the strength of that hydrochloric acid helps break that food up more, and it actually kills bacteria of the stuff you swallow. It's almost impossible not to swallow any bacteria through all the food that you have, and that's one of the purposes that the hydrochloric acid does. Now, why does the hydrochloric acid not hurt us? Because we have mucus lining our stomach. See, that mucus is quite a help down here in the digestion process, and that mucus protects us from that hydrochloric acid. A few hours after eating, a food that you ate is now a thick liquid. So after going through the mechanical and all the chemical changes, including the pepsin and the hydrochloric acid, the cheeseburger is now a thick liquid, or whatever you happen to have eaten. And since it's a thick liquid, it is released into the small intestine. Now the stomach is right here. This is the stomach. So it's kind of continuing this photo that happens to be up here. The stomach is right here, and it just goes straight into the small intestine. Now, it's kind of ironic that it's called small, because if you were to extend all these tubes out, then it would probably be pretty long. I think it says in your book like 18 feet, 20 feet, even longer than that. I forget which, but it's called the small intestine because of its diameter. It doesn't have much diameter, probably even smaller than the esophagus if you were to compare the two. But here's what's happened happening in the small intestine. Most chemical digestion takes place here, and it has partly to do with the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas, which happen to be real close here. You kind of faintly see them up here, but I will go ahead and get to that slide. Here we have the small intestine here, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, and it's actually not as extended as that. The liver is just right on top of the stomach right here. This is just so you can see it a little bit better. The liver delivers bile. The liver delivers bile to the gallbladder to be delivered to the small intestine. Now, bile turns larger fat molecules into smaller fat molecules. So bile is kind of like pepsin in that it kind of helps break things down to where it can be absorbed. The pancreas, which you can see is right here, right alongside the stomach, not on top of it like the liver and gallbladder. The pancreas produces enzymes which break down starches, proteins, and fats. So once it gets into the small intestine, it gets bile and more enzymes to help break it down. Now, the things you eat, fiber is not digested, and later on it will be waste. But what fiber does, it makes the mass thicker, which will make peristalsis a little bit easier. So, on the inner surface of the small intestine is lined with something called villi. Now, imagine this. We got the small intestine right here. On the insides of it, you have this villi, and there's another depiction of it down here. But anyway, a blood vessel runs through each villi here. And this is on the inside of your small intestine, and here's what happens. Nutrients pass from the small intestine to the villi, then from the villi into the blood, and from that blood vessel to the rest of the body. So the food you ate that went down in your stomach, that turned into that thick paste, that ended up going down here into the small intestine, everything that is nutrients will be caught by this villi, and all the nutrients from it absorbed into the villi, into this blood vessel that is in the villi. Now, it's kind of a hard concept to get, but yes, just by passing over it doesn't do it. You have all the chemical digestion, the bile, the pepsin, the things like that, which break things down small enough to where it can be coated on here and actually will end up helping. Remember, the time it gets down here, it's a paste. It is more liquid than it is solid. So that's kind of where it goes. Stomach to small intestine. In the small intestine, it has chemical digestion gone to it, and the nutrients are absorbed via the villi into the bloodstream right there. Water is also absorbed into the bloodstream here. Remaining material, whatever is left that is not absorbed, goes into the large intestine. Now here's the large intestine. The small intestine is all inside here. So small intestine was very long. Large intestine is not that long. So in the large intestine, you actually have in the large intestine bacteria, and the bacteria in the large intestine actually feeds on whatever remains. Isn't that interesting? You actually have bacteria in your body that feeds on whatever remains. And it's not a bad thing. Remaining material is pressed into solid form in the rectum and exits the body through the opening at the end of the rectum called the anus. And you're probably familiar enough with that process. Hey, don't forget to go back and do the questions. Hope you've learned a lot about digestion.